is what you've got in the photocopy as well. Que no está aquí. In this photocopy as well, that's the photocopy that you've got, and this information on chromosomes is what you've got here in page number 4, at the beginning of page number 4, the structure of chromosome and types of chromosomes and number of chromosomes. So I like my photocopy best because it's mine, but you've got the same information. The important information is in page number 30, so you can use your book if you want to. You can use your book, and you will find the same information. Then where is the following part? Then the following part that you've got is, you don't have in your book chromosomal abnormalities. Eso no lo tenéis. The karyotype. You've got something on the karyotype in pages 44 and 45. If you go to pages 44 and 45, it seems to be an activity, but you've got a lot of information on what the karyotype is and what karyograms are, but you don't have any information for specific chromosomal abnormalities in humans. So in order to know what's the chromosome that is not in the right number for each abnormality, you've got to look at this photocopy or this file that you've got in contenidos, contents, that is this one, chromosomal alteration, which is the PowerPoint presentation that I showed you. Remember that it's not important to know specifically what happens to each person, but especially what's the chromosome that is not in the right number. So being able to join name of the pathology, name of the syndrome, and number of chromosome that is wrong. Of course, I would also like that you know that, for example, Edwards syndrome and Pato syndrome, not differentiating them, but these two syndromes are more dangerous than Down syndrome, in the sense that children having them usually have a very short life, while people suffering Down syndrome, they could have an almost normal life. In the same way as those affecting sex chromosomes, if it's Turner syndrome, it's going to be more dangerous than Klinefelter syndrome or XXY, XYY, or triple X. They are not so dangerous. Turner syndrome has more pathologies that go with the syndrome. But that's everything that you should know about this chromosomal alteration, which is the following thing that you've got in this photocopy. Then genetic material transmission is what you've got in your book in page number 36. In page number 36. So that would be the following part. If you see page number 36, ¿tenéis el libro cerca para verlo? If you see page number 36, I like the first part where you've got cell division, what happens in prokaryotic cells, what happens in eukaryotic cells. But the picture that you've got at the bottom of page number 36, I would define it as horrible. Because it does not contain right information. The information is not okay. And I wouldn't say that it's explaining that, the process. If you see the stage number 1 that is represented there and stage number 2, in fact, they say exactly the same. When you've got time, read it, and you're going to see that 1 and 2 say exactly the same. And they don't differentiate when the cell is growing, when the DNA is duplicated, or when the rest of the organelles are going to be duplicated, prepared for the division. So they don't differentiate G1, S, and G2. So for this part, it's better to either use the information that you had in your video or have a look at this information that you've got in the photocopy. So being able to differentiate in the cell cycle, not only that all this is interface, but also knowing that that is G1, and during G1 the cell is growing and producing more organelles and everything for the cell to work. This is S phase, where the DNA duplicates, and G2, which is the cell that is ese growing, está ahí un poquito. The cell is producing all the proteins or the enzymes that are needed for the cell division to be undergone. Okay, so I like these parts best. Then it's easier, I think it's easier if you just study from page number 4 to the end using this photocopy. But as I tell you, most of the information is in your book as well. For example, this chart that you've got in page number 37, you've got a chart summarizing what's going on in mitosis in your book, and this picture is not that bad. This graph is not that bad. You've got prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase, and what's going on in each one. And it's not bad. You've got all the important information. So if you like this page number 37, you can use it in order to understand all the phases in mitosis. You've got here the pictures that I showed you in the presentation the previous day. We'll go through it very quickly. And this is one by one all the processes until we've got the cytokinesis, and we've got the differences between cytokinesis in animal cells and plant cells. That's what you've got in your book in page 38. So this part on the stages of mitosis, it's summarized in pages 37 and 38 in your book, and it's not that bad. But the first part on the difference between interphase and mitosis, I don't like it at all. From your page number 36, I don't like it. Well, very quickly, with your participation, what is one thing that will let me know? Vamos por aquí. Hoy sí empiezo from the beginning. So starting with Aitana, tell me one thing that will let me know that my cell is in the interphase, is either in G1S or G2 phase. What is the key, the clue that is going to tell me that it's in an interface? Aitana. No sé si me estás hablando, pero no te oigo. Alguien ha abierto el micrófono, pero no es ella.
Can you repeat the question?
Okay. One clue, one thing that is going to let me know that I'm not in any of these phases of mitosis. I'm not in prophase, metaphase, anaphase, or telophase, but my cell is in interface. What is the clue? Where are you going to look at in order to know that your cell is in interface?
I'm thinking, teacher.
Okay, venga, pues vamos allá. We're going to do it the same thing, but with activities, using your photocopy on activities, and we are going to do it with these diagrams. If you've got your photocopies with you, we're going to go to page activity number 29. Okay, in activity number 29, you've got these pictures here. And we've got this first picture here, this one. The question is, in which phase of mitosis is this cell? What is the phase of mitosis that this cell is in? Is it in interphase, prophase, anaphase, metaphase, telophase?
Teacher,
Dime.
¿se supone que debería de ver tu pantalla?
Yo sí, creo que sí, porque la tengo en rojo. ¿Los demás la veis?
Sí.
Y sin metaphase.
Sí.
A ver, te la pongo
Pues yo
aquí.
no la veo.
Bueno, no pasa nada. Ahora mismo te la pongo. A ver si así la ves. Es un poco incómodo esto, no lo voy a hacer todo el rato, pero... This is the picture that I've just done. You've got it in the chat. ¿Lo ves así, Rodrigo? ¿En el chat? ¿O tampoco ves el chat?
Y no, mientras que está en llamada, que abra las fotocopias y ya
Sí,
está.
sí que lo veo.
Claro. Bueno, pues estamos en esa actividad, ¿vale? In this activity, and we are seeing the first picture. So, anyone that wants to help Aitana, what phase of the
Metaphase.
life cycle of the cell is this one? Is in metaphase. Okay, I know it's not. Seguro que has dicho eso también, pero es que tu micrófono le tenemos un poquito borracho, creo. I know it's not interphase because the chromosomes are visible. If you can see the chromosomes, it's because you don't have chromatin anymore, but this chromatin is in the form of chromosomes that are visible. So the answer for my previous question is, how do you know that it's in interphase? Because I don't see the chromosomes. Then I do see the chromosomes, so I know it could be prophase, metaphase, anaphase, or telophase. How does Macarena ha sido, ¿verdad? How does she know that it's in metaphase? Because...
Te lo digo.
Sí, porfa.
Okay. Because they are in the center of the cell and in a straight line in the middle.
Okay, so they are in this metacentric plate, in this metaphase plate. They are in the middle, aligned in the middle. So no doubt the answer for this question, which phase of mitosis are represented in the following picture, this one would be metaphase. Okay, you can feel it in the photocopy right now. And then they are also asking you what are the names of these structures there. So let's see, what would you write in what we call structure number 1? That would be number 2, that's number 3, and we've got number 4. Okay. Vamos allá con lo siguiente. Pedro, que no te he visto, pero me bastas. Pedro, either using your microphone or the chat, what's the name of this structure that is labeled as number 1 here in this picture?
Chromosomes.
Okay, the chromosome would be all this. So in case you consider that this label is pointing at all the structure, that could be a right answer, chromosome. But imagine that I'm referring to only this part that I've colored in orange. What's the name of this part that is colored in orange? Pedro.
Kinetochore.
No, that could be a possibility, but it's not. Más fácil todavía. Si le ves de qué tiene forma. No, si le ves de qué tiene forma.
De círculo.
No, que estamos con la 1. Number 1, which is colored in orange. This es un...
Centromer, no sé.
¿No me ves a mí? ¿Me ves a mí o no me ves mientras hablo?
Sí, sí.
Ahí en chiquitito. What's that? It's an arm. It's the arm of the chromosome. If it was the blue structure. The blue structure is chromatid. So chromatid, it's in blue, while, a ver si lo puedo poner más chico, while the orange or yellow or whichever color this one is arm. Okay, so depending on what you think this arrow is pointing at, if you think it was this long structure, that is a chromatid. If it's only these tiny parts, that is the arm of the chromosome. If you think, as you thought, that it was the whole structure, then, of course, the whole structure is the chromosome. Okay? So, 3 different possibilities. Dime.
Entonces, o sea, como el sentido de los brazos, puede ser que la Q y la P estén cambiadas.
Sí, ¿por qué? I told you that the important thing is that the shorter arm is the P arm, the other one, the longest one, is the Q arm. So if you see one chromosome, no sé por qué, no se me ven ahora aquí. If I give you one chromosome and the chromosome is like this, there's no doubt that this arm is going to be P arm and the long arm is going to be Q arm. Qué gordo me ha salido este. That's Q arm, okay? But if I give you the same chromosome but upside down, am I going to say that this one being P, which one does it go with? Does it go with this long arm or the short one? Always P is the short one. I don't care about the position. The shorter arm is the P arm, the other one is the Q arm, okay? And because they've got identical information, they are going to have these 2 chromatids are going to be exactly the same size, this chromatid and that sister chromatid, and that P arm must be as short as this one. This Q arm must be as long as the other one. Okay? ¿Era esa tu pregunta?
Yes, and teacher, I have another question.
Okay, go on. Te
Mejor me
pierdo.
matas, pero es que sigo sin enterarme. ¿Cuál es la diferencia entre mitosis y meiosis?
Vale, voy. No te mato porque todavía no lo hemos visto, ¿vale?
Vale.
We've seen mitosis, and I don't want to hurry up because I want you to understand perfectly this mitosis before getting into the following process, that is meiosis. So, mitosis, what is the mission? Producing 2 identical cells, okay? And how does the cell ensure that both daughter cells are identical? Because the genetic material will duplicate, will condense, will form these chromosomes, and these chromosomes will divide. Meiosis. What is the mission of meiosis? Meiosis is also going to divide a cell, but it's going to do it in order to form gametes. Gametes are not identical to the cell that is forming them. The cells in the testicles have 46 chromosomes, and they need to form cells that only have 23. So are the gametes going to be identical to the gonad? Is the sperm cell going to be identical to the testicle? No, because the testicle contains 46 and the sperm cell only has 23. So I'm going to divide the cell, but I'm going to do it in a different way. So this other type of division is meiosis. Dividing in order to produce a cell that is identical is mitosis, dividing in order to produce a cell that is not only different, but also contains half of the information. That is the other type of division, meiosis. But we haven't seen meiosis yet. We will see it on Monday, okay? So do not panic if you don't see the difference yet. Activity, the same picture number 2. What's the name of this central structure in the chromosome? Venga, un voluntario que me lo dice así rápido.
The centromere.
The centromere, okay? So this is the centromere. This label there, because it's pointing at the central part, okay? Number 3 is pointing at this thing there. What is your term for this one? What would you say for this one?
The mitotic spindle.
You can either say that this is the mitotic spindle. Vaya color que no se ve nada de nada. You can either say that this one is mitotic spindle, or you might think that I was referring to just these fibers, not the whole spindle, but just these fibers. Then you could also write that they are aster fibers. Okay? Both answers would be okay. Mitotic spindle is the whole structure, but this spindle is formed by aster fibers, so you can say any of them. And what about number 4? Vega, ¿estás por ahí? Number 4 is... Está por ahí, pero no se puede comunicar con nosotros. Someone raising the hand. Rodrigo, ¿ya me ves o no?
Sí, profe.
Muy bien.
Chromosome.
Chromosome, esto te voy a dar en el culo. Number 4. Chromosome was this structure. This is... Venga, que voy. ¿Me estás viendo?
Centrosome.
Okay, centrosome that is made of 2 centrioles. Okay, made up of 2 centrioles and the aster fiber, the centrosome. So we've got here all these names that are so similar. We've got this centromere, that is the central part of the chromosome, this centrosome that is made of 2 centrioles. Centrosome made of 2 centrioles. Okay, well, all those terms. ¿A quién tengo por aquí? Perdón, profe, no podía poner el micro. No worries. So those are the structures represented in this activity. This first picture. What about the second picture? What do we have here? Well, we've got another cell that is in another phase of the life cycle. First question, what is the cell, the phase that this cell is undergoing? This cell must be in which phase? Laura, que no me has dicho nada. Which phase of mitosis is represented here, or which phase of the cell cycle? Because it might be interphase. Is it interphase, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, or telophase? What do you think that we've got there?
Prophase.
Is it prophase? Yes, you're right. How do you know that it's prophase? Well, it couldn't be interphase because chromosomes are visible. But it couldn't be any of the rest of the phases because I also see the cell membrane. And the mitotic spindle has not been formed yet. So this is prophase. And again, I've got very similar terms. Laura, what should I write here?
The centrosomes.
The centrosome there. What should I write here? That is the
O sea, the cell membrane.
Sorry, it's not the cell membrane, it's the nuclear membrane. Te he engañado, ¿eh? The nuclear membrane is this one. And what about the last one? This picture represents a chromosome, okay? Because I do not see that is pointing at any specific part of the chromosome. I would say chromosome for this one, but you could also say an arm, as we said before, no problem, okay? And the last one is this picture there. And what do you think about this picture? What is it representing? Which phase of the life cycle of the cell is represented in this picture? Andres, do you have microphone to answer my phone? My question?
Yes.
Venga. Which phase is this cell in?
I don't know.
You don't know. Is it exactly the same one as the previous picture?
It looks similar.
Can you see any difference between this picture in the middle and this picture on the right? It's very
Like
similar, isn't it? But there's a different. What's the difference?
that the yellow thing is separated.
That I've got two yellow structures separated. So I don't have one nucleus anymore in my cell, but I already have two nuclei. So what do you think that has happened in this picture? That DNA that was duplicated has already divided in two. So what is the phase in which we may find two nuclei? Is it interphase, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, or telophase? It's telophase, that is, mira si sale aquí el cartel. It's telophase because it's the last phase in this division. So my cell is just about to form a new cell. Well, we've got another activity that is similar but a little bit more complex here. And I say it's a little bit more complex because it has real pictures. So it's not diagrams, but it's real pictures that you see when you look through the microscope. So let's see whether we've got an idea on what we could find if we look through the microscope. I would say picture number 2 might be the easiest one to recognize. The face in picture number 2 is the easiest one to recognize. Pero hay que tener un poco de suerte. Malena, do you feel like telling me one name for this picture number 2? Which phase is it? Marea un poco mirar este dibujo así mucho rato.
¿Me lo puedo pensar?
Va, que no, que te la lances así lo que salga.
Vale. Telophase.
Bueno, pues telophase will give you 2 separate nuclei included in one cell. It's very close to this number, but it's not this one. Which one is it? Dame un número. In which picture can you see 2 nuclei included in one cell? Don't you see it here?
Pero seguimos en mitosis.
Sí, seguimos en mitosis, claro. En este dibujo. Can you see this picture that number 4 is pointing at? You've got 2 nuclei, but you have only one cell with this cell wall. This is a plant cell. So this number 4 is telophase because these 2 new nuclei have already been formed. Can you see the difference between this picture number 4 and this picture number 8? Do you see the difference? A little bit.
No.
Bueno, pues if you pay attention, this one still has this shape for the chromosomes. They are still being pulled apart with this triangular shape. ¿Lo ves así con un poquito de imaginación? Bueno, while you don't have it here because it's already formed, I would say that this is telophase, number 4, while number 8 is anaphase. If you ask me about number 9, I would say that number 9 is also at the end of anaphase. But what do I have here in number 2 and number 6? The chromosomes are all aligned. They are all in the central part of the cell. So what's the name of this phase in which all the chromosomes are in the middle?
Anaphase, ¿no?
No, estaban
No,
todos, os dije.
metaphase.
Eso, os dije ayer, como haciendo la línea de meta. Metaphase, okay? So number 2 and number 6 would be metaphase. Number 8 and number 9 could be anaphase. I would say that number 4 and number 5, both of them are telophase. And then what's the difference between this one and this one? In this picture, they are separated by a cell wall. So I might have two things. The end of telophase, but I would say that this is the beginning of the following prophase, ¿vale? Pero en estas es difícil verlo, ¿vale? I would say this one is in prophase, this one is in prophase as well, ¿vale? Bueno, it's just this activity is not trying to, it's not asking you to say exactly which phase they are in, but it's especially trying to do just the opposite, justo lo contrario. I want you to consider that these names for the phases are artificial names that are giving a name to one continuous process. So sometimes it's very difficult to say whether my cell is at the end of anaphase or at the beginning of the telophase, because it's a continuous process, okay? Are you a child or a teenager? Well, there's one moment in your life when you are 11, 12, that there's people that might think you are a child, people that might think that you're a teenager, because it's a continuous process. When you are 18, are you already an adult or still a teenager? Who knows? Because it's a continuous process. Well, in this division, it's also a continuous process. So when you take a picture, sometimes it's easy to know, like in this picture, you don't see any chromosome. So that is interphase, no doubt. Sometimes it's very easy to see that there's no chromosome and no doubt interphase. But sometimes it's more difficult to know whether all the chromosomes are aligned, or maybe this long structure means that they are not aligned yet. Bueno, pues just I want to give you one real picture. In your book, in page number 43, you've got another real picture of these cells. In this case is animal cells instead of plant cells, what you've got in page number 43. Well, I'm not sure whether do you have your book with you to answer my question? If you do, please raise your hand and I will ask you. Que sé que todos tenéis muchas ganas. Lucía, Marín, for example, do you have your book with you? Pedro has the book. So Pedro, if you go to page number 43, could you be able to identify any of those pictures, either number 1, number 2, number 3, or number 4, the one that you prefer?
Pues, no sé, number 1.
Venga, number 1. What do you think is number 1 representing? Which phase?
Of mitosis.
Yes, please. Can you see the chromosomes in this picture? ¿Los ves? Visible chromosomes. A thick structure.
Yes.
Do you? Yes, of course you do. Do you see the difference between this cell represented in number 1 and the cell that is just on the top of this one, la que está justo arriba? Do you see the difference? En la que está justo arriba, you don't see the chromosomes, so that one must be, a ver si os puedo yo subir esta foto, para que la veáis. That one must be in interphase, but number 1 is one phase of mitosis. Which one? I would say number 1 is, dime uno.
Prophase.
Venga, you would say prophase, I would say metaphase, but I'm not going to argue, okay? So I would say metaphase because they are more or less aligning in one position, in one central position. But if you say this one is prophase, no problem. In prophase, chromosomes are not so thick, but you can say prophase, metaphase. No doubt in number 4. Rodrigo, que me ibas a decir algo. What is your answer for this picture number 4? What would you say that is the answer for this picture number 4?
Could you repeat the page?
It's page number 43. No veáis mis... Vale. Is this one? Can you see the picture here? This one is the one we said that could be either prophase or metaphase. I would say it's more prophase. And I asked Pedro to see the difference, pay attention to the difference with this one in which chromosomes are not visible. Okay, and I've got a nucleolus there, a big nucleolus there, chromosomes not visible, and a big nucleolus. So this one is interphase. This one is one phase of mitosis, probably metaphase. And I was asking Rodrigo for this one, picture number 4. Which phase of mitosis seems to be this one, number 4?
Maybe anaphase?
Anaphase, yes, because they are separating and they have this triangular shape, okay? Then number 2, with 2 nuclei that have already been formed, would be?
Telophase?
Telophase. And then in this one, in number 3, cytokinesis, it's already happening. It's already, the cell is already dividing in 2. Okay, bueno, I wanted you to see all those, all those pictures identifying different phases because that could be one interesting question in the exam. In the exam, I will give you diagrams, not real pictures, so do not panic. But I'm going to give you a question on different diagrams for you to identify what's the phase of mitosis and what's going on in this phase. Another interesting activity is activity number 27. Activity number 27 is asking you to think of a parent cell with 20 chromosomes. So we've got one cell. We don't care whether it's an animal cell, a plant cell, or even a protozoan cell, but it has 20 chromosomes. Could it be a prokaryotic cell?
No.
No, because bacteria, prokaryotic cell, they only have
One chromosome.
one chromosome. So I could give you this information and ask you whether this belongs to a prokaryotic or eukaryotic cell, but you would not know whether it's an animal, a plant cell, or whatever. How many cells will be produced after 7 mitotic division? How many cells will be formed after 7 mitotic division? Well, we've got some one math activity. Can anyone give me an answer for this one? This cell is going to undergo different divisions, mitotic divisions. After the first mitotic division, how many cells do I have? After the first division, I've got
2.
I've got 2. Second mitotic division, how many cells do I have?
4.
4.
I'm going to have 4. So the question is, after 7 divisions, how many cells do I have? Does anyone have an answer?
128.
128.
Okay, so it's going to be, for the first one, is 1 cell that equals 0 elevated to the power, ¿qué decís eso? To the power of 0. Then this is 2, which is 2 to the power of 1. Then this is 4, which is 2 to the power of 2. Then we would have, so each time we've got a division, the number of cells we've got is exactly the same as the number of cells that result from elevating to the power of this number. So 1 division, 2 to the power of 1, 2 cells. Another division, 2 to the power of 2, 4 cells. Another division, 2 to the power of 3, 8 cells, and so on. So how many cells after 7 division? After 7 divisions, we've got 2 to the power of 7. Okay, that would be the result of this question, the answer for this question. Does everybody understand it? How many cells are going to be produced? Bueno, if not, just do it little by little, paint it with your pen, and you're going to see the number of cells that we get. But the second question is even more interesting. How many chromosomes will the last cell have? We're running out of time, so this question is going to be your homework together with, atención que no hemos parado, with this, which is this video, another interactive video that you find next to the one we had the previous day. So this one on sex determination. Okay, so the video and the end of this activity that we were doing. ¿Vale? Perdonad que os he dejado un poquito tarde. Have a nice weekend, and I hope to see you